Hello, everyone. It's Arden with Arden's Chats. Super excited to be here with you again today. Again, remember, I started this out of a need to provide something. If I was a trillionaire, I would be providing all of you small businesses with all your rent and all the things. I am not a trillionaire. However, I do have a trillionaire's worth of network. And so what Arden's Chats is connecting you with really cool people who have been in your shoes, who are walking in your shoes right now, because right now we're all in equal playing field. So today I'm introducing you to my friend Jacinda. Jacinda, tell the people who you are.
Hey, well, first of all, is the internet okay? Because I feel like just as you said my name, I feel like it kind of froze on me a little bit. So can you hear me? Is it moving? Okay.
You good now,
I feel
girl.
like
We
the
got
second
you.
you said my name, it went pop. Okay.
It's
All
okay.
right. Just it's saying that it's unstable. And even in our last chat, it didn't mess up at all. So that means that we have some really amazing information that we're going to be giving out today. And he's trying to stop us. He's trying to stop us. So
Get away
do
from
you
us,
have
devil. Get behind me. Girl, we close to Easter. It's like we're Peter right now. Get thee behind me, Satan.
Okay, I feel like we just got back. All right. So, yes, hey, I'm Jacinda, and I'm excited to be on today. I'm not sure what all we're going to talk about, but I'm going to give you any and everything that you ask for. So, hit it, Arden.
Okay, so Jacinda, how did you did not start. I need people to understand that you did not start as the NBA All-Star host, right? Like you had to work your way there. So, how did you get to be this premier star that you are now?
Well, thank you for saying that. Thank you for that title. I actually started back in 2002. My media journey started in 2002, and I started on morning radio. So I, back then in Virginia Beach, Virginia, was a wild, crazy morning show girl. So if you've ever followed a morning show and you kind of hear them going off and they're just ridiculous, that was me. That was my lifestyle. That was my vibe. And so I did a couple morning shows like that, moved to Charlotte. And then at one point I was like, this girl needs to grow up, because you can't just be laughing and joking for the rest of your life. You want a little bit more substance. And so I also wanted to be challenged. So I then ventured into local news. And that's when we were definitely challenged in a big way, from reporting to doing weather, morning co-hosting, you name it. I did it all. I wore a lot of hats. And then in 2014, I said, now what? Like, now what? You did radio, you did TV, but you're not happy. You're not happy. You don't feel fulfilled. And I just knew in my heart that there was so much more that I wanted to do. So in 2014, I started a journey of self-discovery and really saying, what is it that God has for me? How can I give back to the world and serve in some way? And so I started this journey of purpose. And I do believe that all of us have purpose. I do believe that all of us are here to serve in some way. But the journey of figuring that out is what I had to first walk through. So since then, we have fun with the NBA and with doing a lot of different commercials. And so I still dabble a lot in media, but my real purpose and passion in life is helping other people figure out their purpose and actually walk in it. The second I feel joy is when someone says, aha, this is what I should be doing. This is what I love doing. And this is how I can make money doing it. So that in a nutshell is what I do. I say, when someone says, what do you do? I say, I'm in media and ministry.
I love that. And I really think you're in you marry ministry and media really well together, because I'm a PR person, as you all know, and I am the first to go, y'all better leave the media alone, because people attack you guys all the time. You're people, you're working really hard, you're churning out the information, and a lot of you are doing such a good job. You've got the stories that you're putting out. And so part of that is figuring it out. So how do you were like the journey of figuring it out. What does that mean? What are some steps people can take? I'm so practical. What do I do? I'm taking notes.
Yeah, some steps. So the steps are very, very practical, but it does have a lot to do with you and starting to turn the camera around on you. Because a lot of us, let's be honest, when I built Uniquely Qualified, the reason why I built it is because there are so many times in life that you come to a fork in the road. so many times, over and over. Let's say like when you leave college and go into your first job, that's a fork in the road moment. What job? What do I want to do? I went to college for this, but I can only get paid money doing that, you know? And then I don't even like doing that. For me, my journey came in when I had did all these years of what I thought I loved doing. And at one point I did. But then my heart was asking for more. That was a fork in the road moment. What about when you have your first kid or your second or your third, or actually get married or travel somewhere else? Let's talk about the biggest milestone, a divorce, or my kids are now grown and going off to college. Who am I? Yeah. There are so many moments in life that we hit this fork in the road moment. And I'm seeing us women kind of lose ourselves. And many times we stay in a place of comfort of like, well, this is what I know, so I'm going to stay here. But I want you to enjoy life and drive this sucker till the wheels fall off, because we are supposed to experience life and really truly take it by the horns. And so rule number one, you stop down and say, hold on, who am I in this stage of the game? And what is it that I really truly want to do? And so there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of things that you start to dive into of like, if money wasn't an issue, what would I do? What actually does bring me joy? I do a joy test with everyone. So this test is like this. It's 3 steps. 1, write down 20 things that bring you joy. Every time I do this with a client, there are some clients that can get to number 3 and can't write anything else down. There are others that are like going bananas, like just writing things down. I can tell the difference from you from right then, really how deep in that sunken hole that you may be. The second step is after you write down your 20 things that bring you joy, in the next line over, how often do you do these things? How often are you doing the things that make your heart fly, that make you want to cry tears of joy like this is happening? A lot of times I lose a lot of people right in that step because we know the things that bring us joy, but Arden, we're not doing them. Then the third step, and here's the kicker, how often, like when was the last time you did it? Because for example, so for me, I love the beach, love the beach, love the water. I feel like I'm closer to God there. I remember when I grew up in Virginia Beach, I would always go to the beach and I would sit there with my journal. I would journal, I would lay down, I would listen to music, even like in the fall, like not just wearing your bikini, you know what I mean? And I would go there and just like have this quiet time. So for me, I wrote down the beach and water, but I don't live by the beach anymore. So I said, well, how often do I do it? Not often. When was the last time I did it? Last summer. So I said, you know what? In my business, I now create retreat experiences where we go to the beach. So now my job revolves around taking 50 people to the beach to have a spiritual retreat, because the beach is what brings me joy. And that's now a part of my business. So that's just one little tidbit of how you can create your life around your joy moments so that you're actually walking in it every single day.
I love that. But one of the things let's back up, because people are going to be watching this and going, I can't do that. I can't do that. Or my life, she was already on TV. So she already knew all the things, but that's not, you've taken everything in your path to create your current present. And I think that's a unique thing about you, is part of uniquely qualified. And I want you to define that in a second, but part of it is understanding that every step you've taken is an important part of your journey. So if you hadn't been on Brother Fred, I never would have met you. You never would have started going like, oh, like all of these steps, like it was a huge show and Fred's now in Chicago and syndicated. And like, that was an opportunity that you took. And then you were like, I'd like to do traffic. And you started on traffic and weather and learning all of these things. And you use all of it to be in the moment now. And I think people forget that. They're like, oh, Arden, you've always done PR. Well, actually, I started in PR, then I went into literacy, and then I worked at the library, and I work with a lot of authors, and my background is in creative writing. That's where story comes from. And I think one of the things we talk about with Uniquely Qualified is every one of those things matters. Every part is part of your gift. So leading into that, why did you create Uniquely Qualified, and why did you do it when you did it?
So great questions. I created Uniquely Qualified out of my hellstorm. And what I mean is, I think the worst place you could be in life is not knowing who you are, or where you're going next. Like,
Mhm.
it's one thing to, like, even if you don't really like your job or your boss or whatever, it's one thing to get up every day because I know where I'm going. I know I'm getting a check. I know I have to do this work while I'm there. I know my kids need XYZ. But when you don't know and it's all fuzzy and all foggy, like, I did not know what to Google in the search bar for the next job.
Ooh. So,
Like, I would open Google. Yeah, I would open it and be like, well, what am I going to do? I didn't even know what to do. I didn't even know what my gifts were. I didn't even know. I had no clue, y'all. So that's a scary place to be. So for me, when I left my job, I left it cold turkey, May 1 of 2014. No job. I knew that I wanted to do something of service. I did know that. So I started applying to different nonprofits, and I started getting decline. And no, we went with a more suitable candidate. Good luck with your future endeavors type of lines. No after no after no.
mm-hmm.
And to your point, you're on TV. Everyone knows about you. You should be able to walk into any job. No, they said, great. I mean, you have speaking skills, you have writing skills, but you don't have any background experience in this.
Mm-hmm.
So I, at that moment, went into prison ministry for free, no money. I was literally in prisons, never done it before. Ministry, never been in ministry before, never prayed out loud, never did any of these things. And I was like, and I would say one of the answers to figuring out where you're supposed to be is volunteering. Volunteering will always guide your path in a direction that will blow your mind. But I remember being in the middle of a worship hall in a prison with prisoners, and my heart was flying. It was like, this is amazing. This is your heartbeat. This is where you should be. This is everything. And it scared me because I was like, I never in a million years would have thought this. So Uniquely Qualified was birthed because everything that makes you unique, from the good experiences to the bad experiences to your career journey, all of it in a nutshell is what makes you qualified for that in the road moment to go right, to say, I deserve it to myself, and I deserve it to the people that are waiting for me to become an expert here so that I can serve and help and give back to my community. You are uniquely qualified. No one else could do what you can do because no one else has your story. So until you get to know yourself and really own your story is the only way that then you could find out the why and the need and then go and serve people in that way. Yeah. So the way those two words came together was I was sitting across from a woman crying my heart out, lost, and saying, I don't know what to do. I don't have any money coming in. I just bought a house. I mean, crying, y'all, crying. I don't even know why I was sitting with her. This is the first time I ever met with her. But in my heart, I knew I needed to sit with her. And she said yes. And I sat there crying. I know exactly where I was on South Boulevard, too. And she said, you are uniquely qualified to figure it out and to walk it out and to help others figure it out, too. And that was the day that I knew I would write a book called Uniquely Qualified. And next thing I know, the book turned into a movement that turned into a company that now we're helping everyone own their uniqueness.
Love that. And you do it in a lot of different ways too. So that's the next thing that let's get into Uniquely Qualified, and that Uniquely Qualified with any of your businesses, guys, like you can't just do one thing. Your business, your brand, like Definita is now doing a talk show, this Arden's Chats, but I still do client work and do that. That's really what feeds your soul. That's how you become a high performing person. And when stuff like this happens, you still got other streams of revenue coming in and all that kind of stuff. So, but you didn't start there. How did you start Uniquely Qualified? And then how did you get into the other parts?
Yeah. So basically that day that I was in the prison and just feeling alive, that whole summer, I basically worked in the prison system and I started writing. I don't know what I was doing. I've always been a writer. I always knew at some point I would write something. Never never had any clue what it would be on. And so I started writing the journey. So 2014 was when I started writing what this process that God was taking me through looked like, and the different stages and the different steps that you take to figuring it out. And so 3 years, it took me 3 excruciatingly difficult years to figure it out and to put a book together called Uniquely Qualified. And so as I started selling the book and traveling anywhere, I mean, I don't care if there were 2 people, I was putting up my banner, my presentation, I was having 2,000 books out ready, even if there were 2 people that showed up. And my biggest thing was I needed people to get the message that was inside, that you are unique, own it, don't run away from it. Own it. Those are the blessings and those are the gifts, is your uniqueness and knowing that you've been qualified and this is how you walk it out. When people started coming back to me crying and saying, I couldn't put it down. I read it all like in one day. I needed everything that was in it. When I started hearing this, I knew that there was more. And I had 2 women that were leaders in our Bible study community that came to me and said, God put it on our heart that we're supposed to help you take this book to a movement and take it to the next level. And I just cried. I remember being like, my heart being like, are you serious? God sent my team. He sent a team of people that believed it bigger than I did. And so what we started doing was traveling to different cities and states, taking a uniquely qualified movement and creating conference experiences and full day experiences to just ignite something in women. Some of us have to discover it for the first time, and some of us need to rediscover it, but we're there to ignite you, then to equip you through the journey so that you can make the impact that you've been created to make. So it started basically, I would say the movement itself, the end of 2018. And so we've had like 1 strong year in it, and we're just going. But the beautiful thing is, like, you know, all of us hit these different milestones, and sometimes you just need a little pick me up. And so it's a supportive community where we're constantly training, constantly teaching, constantly encouraging you that, like, you're not crazy. You can go back to your comfort zone in your job all day long. I choose not to. I choose to risk it all to figure out why God created me and what I'm supposed to be doing, because I do believe there's so many people that are waiting for me. So I owe it to myself and them to take the time and do the work.
I love that. And 2 things that you probably didn't even realize you said, but that you did, were 3 years. So guys, it took her 3 years, and she stayed present in it, and she stayed with it because she knew. But you also knew it was a purpose. You had a purpose behind it. The other thing she says was she showed up. Like, she showed up with those books. I've been to many author signings, and they'll halfway show up and maybe have a couple books. She showed up with banners. She showed up like 100,000 people are going to be here, and I'm John Grisham.
Yes.
Like, she showed up, and the way you show up is the way people will perceive you, and the way people, we were just on a call, and like, perceived value. If I show up looking good, I show up ready to teach, I show up like, no, girl, I got my business cards, here's my website, here's a downloadable. I show up because I'm ready to be with you. And that's what you did. You maybe didn't have anybody, but you were there. And I think that's where we are always going to be much more used if we show up ready. And I love that.
I've had times.
You realize you said it.
It was really my husband that made that a rule. He was like, wherever you go, I would have a suitcase. I had everything in a suitcase. And he was like, you roll in your little suitcase and you pop it up as if there's 10,000 people there, and you deliver as if there's 10,000, even if you're not getting paid, because sometimes, y'all, we can judge the room and be like, oh, there's not a lot of people. You don't know who's in the room. You don't know who's connected to someone else who could say, this person right here is magnificent. You need to hire them for your company, and you need to buy 10,000 books. Like, you have no idea who's there. And so there were times that I would be in a small, like, Bible study group in someone's home, and I'd be like, oh, I don't need to do all that. And next thing you know, they're all buying multiple books for their Bible studies and for their jobs and their coworkers, because they want to do, you know, different readings together. And I'm like, whoa, you know, like, so you always come ready. You always come in excellence all the time, no matter what.
Yeah. I think that's an important thing if people are watching it right now while we're at home, stuck in COVID and all this kind of stuff. People, I'm finding, I'm on calls a lot, as you are, and they're just, I don't feel like it today. Or, I just don't want to, no one's buying. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't buy from you. You've got a great product. But the people that are showing up, who are, you don't have to put on a full face of makeup. I just do because I don't like myself without makeup on camera. I don't have to have the fancy lightings. I don't have to have the webcam yet, but you have to show up. And I can't emphasize that enough. And then once we come out of this, show up. Like, remember how much you yearned for human interaction and yearned for these meetings and set it up. Showing up for what you really want is make or break. That's what makes the difference, right? Like, Jacinda every day is out with the Hornets, and then suddenly she's the voice for the NBA All-Star Game 2 years in a row, like, because she showed up and she did the work. And so I love that. So Jacinda, what's one thing that people can leave right now? What can they leave knowing about you that you want them to know about them?
That I am a purpose pusher.
Mm-hmm.
I am here to cheerlead and to push everyone on to living their absolute best life. I don't think you're cutting yourself short if you're just going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it earlier, and every time someone says it, it does something to me. When they say, oh, but I can't. First thing, oh, but I can't. Or they say, oh, but you could because of whatever. I am ready to throw a book across this daggone room because there is absolutely no excuse in the world why you cannot start today. It's just like you said, are you willing to show up? Number one, are you going to do the work? Number two, and number three, how consistent are you because you're hungry for it? I don't care if you've got 10 kids running around right now, all vying for your attention. If you want to really, truly live out your purpose and make the most money you've ever made in your entire life, you're going to make more money operating in your gift than you ever can for anyone else or any other business. But you have to start now. How do you start? Simple ways. By doing the work, by saying, let me start Googling these businesses. Let me start seeing who else is doing what's doing here. You can spend 30 minutes every night. 30. In 6 months, you would have started to craft a business plan and a game plan for yourself. Maybe the business wouldn't start overnight like someone who doesn't have kids and has an influx of money. However, you can still start. So what we do is no more fear, no excuses allowed. You are going to start taking the baby steps to show up and do the work. Now, again, when I say do the work, it's a lot of work, but imagine working for yourself and for something that you're passionate about, then going to work and giving 8 hours to something that you're not. So it's a different type of work and you get excited to do it. I get excited to read. I get excited to write and to do these things because I know that it's life-changing for people and some people really, really need it. And it's in line with what I'm supposed to be doing. So it doesn't feel like a normal 8-hour day when I needed to be in the field, in the heat, turning stories, knocking on people's doors, begging them to talk. Then I have to go back, write a script. I didn't eat. I'm hungry. I'm sweating. I got to put more makeup back on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, that was work, but that's a different type of work because I really didn't want to do that,
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I would say I'm a purpose pusher. If you want to figure it out, rediscover it, and walk in it, I'm going to push the heck out of you, and we're going to do work, and we're going to show up, and we're going to be consistent. Because those 3 years of this book, Arden, me and this laptop were at war every day. My house was spotless. Let me tell you why I was spotless. Because I would make an excuse that I need to do the laundry, that I need to clean. I'd be like, oh, there's dishes. Let me do the dishes. Everything. I would do everything in they mama, but go to the laptop and open it and write because I knew, like, I still have more work to do on this book. But clean the car. Oh, no, you got to cut the grass. Back then, I lived in a house by myself, and I was cutting the grass. So it was excruciatingly difficult, but that book has now blessed people. And if I don't make it to tomorrow, that book will outlive me with a word and still bless others. So that's what I'm saying. Like, no excuses. You do the work, you show up, and you will make more money than you ever going to have fun doing it.
Okay. So on the book thing, my friend Bakari Sellers, he was on with me last week, and he was saying he had to turn his book out. It's out in May. He just sat down every day for 15 minutes. He made himself do it. He's traveling the world with all the different things. At that time, I think he was on Kamala Harris's political campaign and on CNN, and he had these 3 kids and all the things, but he did it. Another thing, I'm reading a book right now called It's All Figure Outable. And what she says is change I can't to I won't. So there's definitely things like you don't want to do. And people will invite me to travel all over the world, and I want to invest in my business, and I'm like, I can't. Right? If you wanted to, you could. You're like, you know what? You're right. I don't want to.
Yep.
That's okay. I don't want to go with you on this trip. I want to take that money and pour it back into my business, or I can't afford it because I want to eat, whatever it is, and that's okay. It also helps your mind realize I can't is so negative, but I won't. I'm making a choice. I'm making a choice that that's not something I want to do. And so that's eliminating the excuse, and it's getting real with yourself. Like, that's, I can't do it. Yeah, you can. I just don't like run. I can. I just don't want to.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're you're so right. And on that running thing, I've been this person my whole life. Oh, I don't run. My whole life, I don't run. Since June of last year, I've been practicing on my running. And y'all, I run now. I run. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's my own test that you can do anything that you set your mind to. You just need to owe it to yourself to do baby steps. It's not like, oh my gosh, in this day, I'm going to knock out a whole book. No, why would you do that to yourself? Like, but if you do the 15 minutes a day, the 5 minutes a day, my tidbit when it comes to, if there is someone watching this that wants to write a book or had thoughts about it, maybe you started it during this quarantine time. Book writing is so special and very unique in that everyone has their own journey. For me, I tried that technique of every day I'm going to write a little something, but depending on the style of book and the information you're giving, I needed, creativity is very special in that it comes in waves at certain times when the floodgates are open. So if I would sit down and I couldn't get words out, I wasn't in my creative space. Creativity wasn't flowing through me. It's almost like a spirit or something that just kind of flies around looking for a way to get out. For me, that's how I envisioned it. So when the floodgates would open, I would typically be driving or something like that. And it's like, this is the next chapter. This is what you should. So I'd be like speaking it into the phone and then trying to run and go type it in. So I had to be ready to catch what was thrown my way versus I couldn't man lesson coming out. So everyone's very different in the way they write, but when you get into that world and start talking to different authors, and I was reading a book about writing a book while I'm writing it, that whole process, it's a journey. So you've got to find one that fits you and just take baby steps. There was my last little tidbit on my soapbox about the book. I remember like in 2016 putting a flyer together and saying uniquely qualified coming in this date and time. And then that time and date came and went, and it popped up on my time hop, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you're a failure. You didn't. Like, come on, let's be honest. How many times do we set the goals? We set the rules. We set the this. Then you feel like a failure when you don't hit it. Give yourself grace. You're taking those baby steps. And it was a whole nother year later, but guess what? It was the right time. And it needed to go through another round of edit. I needed to dissect it again, page by page, word by word. It needed that. And then even after I launched it, I still did a volume errors in there I wanted to fix. So it's like, constantly growing and going. Give yourself grace, but give baby steps. There's no excuses why you can't.
I love it. So where can people find you?
I am uniquelyqualified.com. I purposely, as you're typing it, it is an I am statement over your life. You are speaking that. I am uniquely qualified to walk out my purpose. So I am uniquelyqualified.com. Join the movement. We have Wine Down Wednesdays every Wednesday because I love wine and it's a reason to drink a little bit of wine. But to have these types of conversations where we can give more tidbits. I have advice and tips and tricks for days because all of us are in different phases. What may help you at 26 being in a job straight necessarily the same tips and tricks that are for someone who is 44 whose kids are graduating and saying, I want something new. But the truth of the matter is we are all constantly discovering and rediscovering, new journeys. So how do we get there? And I am that purpose pusher that is going to push you through it.
I love it. This is Jacinda. We could talk forever. So
we can. We can.
I'm like, it's so good. She can just pour into you forever. So y'all go follow Jacinda. She's such a gift to this earth, and I'm so excited to have her on here. And I'll catch y'all next time. Bye.
Thank you, Arden.